How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Finding Direction podcast. This week, I'm sitting down with my man, Alex Weber. And to say that Alex Weber has done some incredible things in this world is an absolute understatement. He is a competitor of the show you've probably heard of called American Ninja Warrior. He is an award-winning host for NBC. He's also the author of a book called Fail Proof, Becoming the Unstoppable You. He's an international keynote speaker, and as you will hear in his voice, in his soul, and in his spirit, as we have this beautiful conversation, he's someone that just believes in the human spirit and really living a life on fire, which we absolutely love here. And so on this episode, a few of the things we talk about the power of when you start to have an idea of what you want to do, the power of then going all in on that thing, right? You're going to get some massive takeaways from that. We also talk about how you should start experimenting your life without judgment, right? Giving yourself permission to play, experiment, try things, and not have any judgment as you go into that place. And we also talk about one of the mottos that Alex had that has got him very far in his life that you can definitely adopt. We'll go more into it. But the motto is called meet everyone and do everything. All right, something that if you're figuring out your life, you want to get further, you apply this motto, you can get much, much, much further in life, much faster, just like Alex did as well. All right, so we have a lot of stuff going on in this episode. If you have not yet, please go to the store, leave us a review, leave us a rating, subscribe so we can come to you every single week here on the podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click that subscribe, like, comment button so we can also come to you every single week on YouTube as well. All right, so we're going to dive right into this one, my friends, and I hope you enjoy. Here we go. Alex Weber, welcome to the podcast, my man. I am excited for our energies to connect in this next little bit.
Stu, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. And so I figured we'll dive kind of right into like the meat of your life. Obviously you grow up and eventually get to this point where we'll just jump into college, right? You're sort of going to this place now of being an athlete and you're trying to go into the next phase of your life. I'm curious, like, as you were going from being in college, transitioning into the next phase of your life, did you have an idea of, I guess, what you wanted to do with your life?
Hard no. Big no. Okay. And, I love the name of your podcast too, Finding Direction. And I think that is a big piece. And now when I speak at universities or I work with, performers and coaching, it's the find. And I think that active verb of like being open, trying things, exploring things, falling on your face, finding out, oh, okay, I like this piece of this, but I don't like that. This thing I gotta have. Right. That's really what helped me because so my first direction, my first purpose was sports. And I always encourage people, I say, find an outlet, find something because my life changed. I was a bullied, insecure, no confidence high schooler. And then a coach took an interest, was like, hey, I think you'd be good at lacrosse. And like overnight, my life changed. All of a sudden, I had friends, I had an outlet, I had direction. And that led to playing D1 in the Ivy League. I was supposed to go into finance, but like deep down in me, I knew that wasn't right. It's a great path if it's right for you. For me, it wasn't. But this, I think, is really important. I call it the river current. And man, this is just like so deep in me is I see the other me that would have moved to New York City, done finance. It's not a horrible path, but it would have been a path where I was just saying yes because it's what my friends were doing. It's what my parents had signed off on. It's what my school was known for. It's the path that I was on. Right. And I just encourage people, make sure you're on the right path because it's dangerous going with the flow. It can be real dangerous. But please, man.
And so you graduated with a finance degree then, essentially?
Yeah, basically it was economics and political science. But my senior year, so my junior year, this is like kind of interesting. I got like the internship, right? I got my first real finance internship. Right. Bro, I hated it so much that I'd prank them. The first thing I did was I would because I didn't want anyone to come to my desk and give me work to do.
Yeah.
I would just continually walk to our office center, shuffle pages, staple them, walk around the office center, come back, unstaple the pages, and I would just go on laps because I was just like, if I look busy, people won't tell me to do anything. And I actually
That's wild.
I pranked the finance firm. It should have, like, the writing was on the wall that this wasn't right for me, but
Yeah.
it wasn't until my fall senior year I had started doing theater classes, even though, and this is important, even though my friends had told me, let's call it name calling. They were like,
Yeah.
you don't want to do that. But I was like, I really think I do. And then one night I made a campfire with 3 buddies. This night changed my life. And we just wrote down what we thought about life. And I wrote down this question: what do you want to do with your moments on earth? Which I think is the most honest question we can ask. I wrote from the heart that night. Next morning I read what I wrote, and I literally remember I was at this coffee shop. I read what I wrote, and I clicked cancel on an email to this finance firm, and I opened up a theater casting in Philadelphia, and I was like, that's the moment. I was like, there's no going back. I'm done. I'm out from finance, and I'm going to do entertainment.
Wild. and so then did you end up going to Philadelphia and you went and trained in theater?
So it's, I mean, there's all these like side avenues in the story, but I think what's really interesting is my fall senior semester. Granted, this is senior year, right? So like you're supposed to kind of be going into what you majored in.
Right. There's like the pressure and the societal norms and parents and friends, and the river current, like you said, is at its strongest, basically.
Exactly. And so I was secretly doing theater, which was bananas, man. I was on the lacrosse team. I was in a fraternity, and I would secretly go off to these theater rehearsals. And my coach, basically, he was a one-track. The only thing you can do is finance. And if you had to miss a practice for a job interview, fine. But I had like a big casting for this commercial in Philly. So I had to lie to him that I was like, yeah, I'm going to New York City for a finance interview. But it was really to film this commercial. And then fast forward a few weeks, he saw the commercial. But like by that point, I was like, I don't care, man. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm in a commercial. Show respect.
Yeah. It's that commercial exists somewhere. But the other thing, though, and this has helped me, it's helped me in going into entertainment. It's helped me when I won awards coaching, in speaking, in the book, in competing on American Ninja Warrior, is I just say dive in the deep end, meaning like you got to explore, try, find the direction. But then once you found it, go.
Yeah.
Because all of the good stuff happens when you're in the deep end. But this area of wishy-washy gray, a lot of pain and struggle happens there.
Yeah. So fill me in, because there's a lot we can dive into there, but like fill me in on, let's say someone's listening to this and they have that same sense of like, this is what I'm supposed to do. The river current's pulling me that way, but like, I know that I want to do something else. Like, how did you gain the courage, and how does somebody get the courage to just say like, in a sense, F it, I'm going against the grain?
You're exactly right with the F it, man. I mean, what I literally, and I think this is so important because what I'll say to myself is like, F it, you're a creature on a floating rock in space. And I don't mean that in some kind of way of like, cool, well, I'm going to go on the beach and just like wear a lei and like drink Mai Tais. I mean like, how safe do you really want to play this thing? You know what I'm saying? Like,
for real.
And the other truth of it is I genuinely believe that if you go after something that you genuinely like, I'm just the biggest believer in human want. And when someone wants something, man, like to anyone listening, think about that person you loved, but they weren't sure. I'm sure you did everything to like, give me a shot. You know, if you did have a fitness goal or a sports goal, like if you want it, you will make it happen because you're going to have no problem getting up early, staying up late, focusing. You're going to be down for the challenges because you just freaking want this so badly. And when push comes to shove, I'd put my money on that person than the person who's just trying to get to Friday, get to the end of the day.
Right. And it's interesting too, because like you look at it from like a logical standpoint where it's like, all right, you look at finance, there's a proven path. Logically, if you go that route, you're going to do well financially. You're going to take care of your family if you have one day. And like the logical sense makes sense. But on the other sense, when you go into theater and performing and all this, the logical sense that makes sense there, in my belief, is because you have this drive, this desire that we're talking about, you're going to be willing to do more, and that will get you 10 times further, even if there's not a path. Like if you have passion and desire to go down a dirt road, you'll
Yes.
get 10 times further down that dirt road than a perfectly smooth paved path that you are dragging your face in the ground as you go across.
It's so true. And the other thing is, and it's really important, is, I mean, I call it brave honesty. That's a very big pillar in my book, in my speaking, in my life.
Yeah.
Because it can be tough to look at things. It can be tough
Facts.
to like really look at things. But what I say, what I encourage anyone listening is like, what is important to you? Because like I think about one of my best friends, let's call him Brian because that's his name, and like,
Yeah.
Brian values stability. And there is nothing wrong with that. That is high on his top 5 values, importances, what matters. But why it's so important is because society, all of this is a game, right? And if we don't decide what is important to us, we're going to be playing a game. We're going to be climbing a mountain that we don't even want to get to the top of. So for Brian, having that stability, having stability in his life, earning an income, having a job that I think he does genuinely enjoy what he's doing. So there's nothing bad. It's not like he's like, ugh, but it doesn't light him on fire. But he has the stability. He has the means. He's going to get married. He's going to have kids. He's going to have, and I'll be honest with you, like there have been some very hard trade-offs in what I've done where I have had to sacrifice some of those things that I do want. And I don't think it's forever, but I have had to sacrifice them. But my criteria for my life is that I'm going to do whatever is in here. Like whatever is beating in fire in here, I'm going to do. Because that is my top one by the longest shot of my life. That purpose. So for me, anything, and I've tried living life where I went off a different criteria.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Just didn't work.
Didn't work.
Yeah. And again, you got to listen to the science, right? It's like when you try things, when you go down past different roads, there's an innate compass, an internal compass that goes, I'm going to go around and staple things and pretend that I'm busy. AKA, clearly, this is not what I'm supposed to do with my life. And so I think people got to listen to that. And so let's say we go further down your life. So you're sneaking away, doing some theater classes, getting a commercial, and fill me in kind of on how you go from dabbling in this to, and I don't know the full timeline you can fill us in, but all of a sudden, now you're hosting the show American Ninja Warrior. So like, fill us in.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You can't see it. You can't see it. You can't see what things are going to lead to. You can have a vision clear and like, we got to have that vision where we want to go. But like, you cannot see all the things that are going to happen. The only thing that I've known to be true is your input. What do you put into the equation? And that is where you get the ultimate say, is how much of yourself do you give into this? So when I basically did that fork in the road of like, all right, I'm going into entertainment. I talked to all these people and they were like, yeah, well, I did New York City and then I moved to LA and then I moved to LA. And then I was like, all right, I'm going dive deep in. I moved to Los Angeles, knew nobody, but my motto was meet everyone, do everything. And so for like, man, I think back like, bro, there was probably, I want to say like 6 years where I just know that I was doing more things than most people. Like, and I was in so many communities. And listen, this gets to a threshold where now I don't do that because I want to channel my focus. But, I was basically in the lacrosse community. I was coaching. I was in the entertainment community, the acting community. I was in the stand-up comedy community. And I would go to all these things. I was in my alumni community. I was in my fraternity community. I was just like, meet everyone, do anything. Anytime someone was like, this was big. Anytime, and I still keep up with this as much as I can. Anytime anyone's like, oh, I should introduce you to, do those. Because some of the most life-changing relationships in my life have been these offhanded things where someone was like, oh, you know what, you should talk to this person. And then it kind of drifted into gray area. But it was my third and fourth follow-up where they were like, okay, I'll introduce you. And those freaking changed my life, those relationships. So, yeah.
I love that saying. Do anything, meet everybody, and do everything. Yeah.
And that's definitely, there's seasons of life. That season of me
Totally.
was one where like I was moving to a new place, doing this incredibly daunting career field where I didn't have a lot going on. So I
Yeah.
needed to like get some stuff going. Um, but where I say this is, so my grad school, and this will get to the Ninja Warrior too. My grad school was coaching lacrosse. So I was coaching, I was an assistant coach. It was just something I did, but I was coaching at this
Yeah.
very prestigious high school called Harvard Westlake in Los Angeles. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it. Just don't sue me. I don't know. But like, they're a
Yeah.
very intense high school. And I loved
Huh.
it there. Right before the season, when I was 25 years old, right before the season, the head coach left for personal reasons. So we're like weeks out from the season. And basically the school was like, all right, Alex, why don't you just coach this season interim? And then we'll find
Right.
someone after this season. And I was like, you know what? Because I was about to stop coaching because I was like, maybe my heart isn't in this. And I was like, and that's an important lesson, is that we can get rejuvenated passion for things. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? The season's 3 months. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to give this everything I have. And then I'm going to say goodbye to this sport that's been in my life for long. This will be my farewell.
Yeah.
So when I took over the team, the school had never won a playoff game ever. That year, we won the Los Angeles championship. I got U.S. Lacrosse High School Coach of the Year.
Damn.
Kids won awards. They're still my boys to this day.
Yeah.
And that changed my life because that experience is what made me a man, truly. And
Because you had to step into this unknown territory and just own it, basically.
I had trouble at that time, like to raise my voice and to like speak with confidence in front of people.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to be a coach, like you got to do that.
You got to demand. Yeah.
Yeah. And the stakes of it are very real. Like these are 15 to 18-year-olds whose dreams are on the lines. You got their family who like, this is their kid. They care a lot. The school cared a lot. I got assistant coaches. You got other coaches who are screaming in your face. They got the refs. There was just so much going on, you know?
Yeah.
So anyways, I coached high school lacrosse for 5 or 6 years. One of the best.
After that.
No, it was in that realm.
Okay.
But, you know, it felt like the chapter ended. And then I just had this feeling of like, I had a good friend who was a TV host. And I was like, I really think I'd be good at this. Like, I don't really love acting. I felt like every audition I went into a room and I was like, you know, I do my thing. And they were like, no, next. And I was like, cool, do you validate? You know?
Yeah.
And so like, but I was like, TV hosting seems cool. You can kind of just be like who you are.
Yeah.
And this is, again, man, dive all in. Like, listen to that fire, find your direction, and then dive all in. It's crazy, man. There's so many micro lessons in there, but the biggest one that I'll say is, damn. All right, I'm going to give 2 because they're important.
Yeah. Drop them.
All right, I went to this casting director workshop, and she was like, you'd be really good at TV hosting. And I was like, let's go. I thought I could be. And she's like, I'm going to introduce you to an agent. And I'm like, yo, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Next day, hey, thank you so much. Could you introduce me to that agent? Crickets. A week later, hate to bug you. Could you just introduce me to that agent?
Yeah.
No crickets. One more try here. Would you mind? It would just be so amazing if you could introduce me to that agent. He said, crickets. And then something went off in me, man. This is only like one of the only times it happened. I go, I'm going to follow up with her every week. And I'm not kidding you, man. I can look at the timestamps. 52 weeks later. 52. Hey, hope you had a good weekend. Any chance? Just checking in again. Merry Christmas. Any chance? 52 weeks later, she goes, hi, I'm going to email you with Paul right now. 52 weeks later. And then I met with this guy, Paul. I walk in. I'm like, yo, I got an agent. And he literally goes, it's really tough out there. I was like, what? He goes, it is a tough industry. It is tough out there. And I was like, are we partnering? What is happening right now?
Yeah.
But this is the important other lesson. I was like, you know what? Screw it. He was like, I don't know if you have the material to showcase you, all this. I go, you know what? Screw it. It was just about to be Thanksgiving. I live in New York. I was from upstate New York-ish.
Yeah.
Hour north. I drove into New York City. My dad and mom drove me in, you know. I hired a camera guy, and I went around New York City filming a TV show, my dream show, as if I was hosting it. And then I edited all this footage together. I sent him a new reel, and he was like, oh, this is good. And then I got hired by FX. I got hired to host for the Grammys. And about a week after that, I got hired by NBC to host for American Ninja Warrior.
All from this thing you went and filmed in New York.
That is what kickstarted it. And then that led to some opportunities where you just kind of keep leveling up and leveling up. But I was blown away, man. There's also like some universe elements of it was literally exactly 1 year after I listened to like, I don't know what's next, but I feel like my chapter coaching high school lacrosse is done.
Right.
It was and I cleared that space and went all in on TV hosting. And it was 1 year later that I got hired by NBC to host for American Ninja Warrior, which was, life-changing and continues to be life-changing.
Yeah. So one thing that I would be curious to hear from you. So like, obviously a constant theme for you, and I love how clearly you've painted this, is like, once you find direction, dive all in.
Yeah.
What I would be curious is why do you think people don't dive all in?
It's a great question, man. And I got to look at it on my, on some things that I'm going through now too. I would say clarity is a big one, because for all of these ones that I've really gone all in with, it's been an honest moment with heart, with soul, with being. Because like, you got to go to that place, because if we don't, we're going to be in this place of emails and scroll holes and bills and pressures. And it's like, that's part of the journey, but that's not how you can make big, pivotal, from the tower, strategic decisions on your life. Like, you got to zoom all the way out and ask yourself, who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want for your moments on earth? And then when you've like got that clarity, which you really got to find, and I think a lot of people don't get all the way there because it starts to get tough or it starts to get unclear. And so we distract away. We find an escapism or whatever. We just keep going. The next piece I'll say is, but if you really have that clarity where you're like, I want to be a husband. I want to be a dad. I want to found a company. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a chiseled, I want to try a triathlete or whatever it is, Tough Mudder. Once you have that clarity, and this is big for Ninja Warriors, like every year I ask myself, do you want to do this? And why that's so important is because if it's no, go to anything else. But if it's yes, I understand that the next year of my life, this is a commitment, regardless of what happens. If I don't get invited back to compete, which might happen, if all the ups and the downs, the Tuesday nights training till midnight and driving an hour away, the ripped up hands, the soreness, there's no questioning it. It's all part of the journey because I made that choice. So I think some people may just not have clarity, and also the not really understanding that it's not always going to be a magical road. There's going to be tough moments, good moments, bad moments, confusing moments, wonderful moments, but that's all part of that journey. And the last thing I'll say is like, you got to see it through. You got to see it through, because all of the real good stuff is on the other side of that journey.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 questions I would have for you in that. From the times where you've in your life gone, I'm going to go all in, and it's turned into something amazing, versus maybe other times where you've questioned, should I go all in or not? One, do you feel that you had like a stronger why, as far as like, I want to be an actor, or I want to be, a host, and there was like a driving why behind it? And then the second thing, kind of in a similar sense, was it that you had a very clear vision of like where you were actually going, versus the times when you weren't sure if you wanted to go all in? Did you have a less strong why and a less clear idea of like where you were actually trying to end up?
Well, it's funny, man. What I learned from coaching, and I write it on my whiteboard, and I'm a big fan of just like simple language. And I learned from coaching was good things happen when you go all in. And what that told me was like, I don't know what those good things are going to be. I don't know. I don't know what they look like.
Yeah.
But when you go all in, like, good things happen. And why I say that is fast forward, and people might be like, all right, well, you were coaching a high school jock sports team. Cool. Let's put it into a different arena. When I was coaching when I got hired by NBC to host for American Ninja Warrior, in our second season, there was a big switch where like I needed to start performing well on these impossible obstacles. And I was really struggling, and I was scared that I was going to lose my job because I wasn't doing the feats that they had asked me to. And I just remember I looked at my whiteboard and I was like, good things happen when you go all in. And what that meant was for the rest of that season, for the rest of the months, I was like, all this other stuff can take a back seat. And this is going to be my number one priority. And I'm going to go all in. I'm going to go train with the athletes. I'm going to learn more about this sport. I'm just going to, regardless of what happens, I'm just going to keep committing. And I won an award for NBC as a result. And, that led to eventually competing. It led to getting a book published. It led to speaking. And so good things happen when you go all in.
Yeah, it's a beautiful saying. And it is such a weird thing. And again, you've painted this so beautifully and clearly that it's like, you don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And there's that unknown, there's that, like, you can't predict it. You may have an idea, but it's like all of a sudden, boom, now you're going a different way. And that was the good thing that you never knew was going to come, was that shift. But it's like, I love the saying that you have where it's like, good things happen when you go all in, because it allows you to go into that unknowingness, knowing good things are coming, not knowing everything's going to fall apart, but it gives you like faith as you step into that courageous moment.
That's such a good way to put it, Stu. And like, I want to be very real with it. What it doesn't mean is go all in and you'll get your goal. And because that's a lie. But what I like about good things is like, okay, so let's say you're at a rocky place in your relationship and you're like, you know what? I'm going to go all in on this. Here's 2 things that I promise will happen. One is you will not have regrets. Regrets kill your soul. I don't know how else to put it. I don't wish that on anybody. And so 1, you're not going to have any regrets. And 2, if you go all in on that relationship, listen, the relationship still may end, but good things will happen. Maybe you will find out different parts of yourself. Maybe you'll grow. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll have more peace or strength as you go into the next relationship. So to me, it's truthful if we just say good things are going to happen. We don't know what they'll be. They will be good things. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it, man. Well, Alex, you are a wealth of knowledge, brother. I've massively appreciated our, conversation here. Appreciate you being here. I'm curious if people want to see everything you're up to, whether it's going back on American Ninja Warrior, whether it's doing all the other cool things you do, check out your book, all that good stuff. Where's the best place that people can find you?
So I appreciate that, man. So I'm Alex Weber, 1B and Weber on all the things. Please do reach out. That fulfills me so much. And the last thing I'll say is, there's the speaking at schools and universities. There's the book, and I needed it, so I created a men's group. We're 1 year into existence. It's called Men We Admire, for high achieving men to become men that we admire and to do it together. Been one of the most special things in my life. Stu, I think we'll talk, man, because I think you'd be an amazing fit. And if that resonates for any listeners, please do reach out.
Heck yeah. Love it, man. So we'll put all that in the show notes. And one last question I have for you, because we ask this to every guest, because we're about helping people find direction, but we believe in doing it through action, right? Not just
I love that.
Doing nothing, but you got to take some actions. And so I'm curious for you, what would you say is one thing someone listening to this can do in the next 24 to 48 hours to start finding direction in their life?
I love it. I'll say 2 things real quick. Do something. I don't want to say out of your comfort zone, but do something that you otherwise may not. And this is the word that helps so much. Explore, because it means you're not going to judge it. If you go to a freaking dance class, I don't know, let's just say what it is, or you go to that new CrossFit gym or whatever it is, treat it like an exploration, because what that means is you're not going to go and be like, I'm the suckiest dancer, man, I'm so weak. You're not going to judge everything. You're just going to be like, let's just see what this experience is. And maybe I'll get some more data that can help me piece together my direction.
Love it, man. Again, beautifully said. Obviously, we see why you're a speaker making an impact. But Alex, again, thank you for being here, man. Massively appreciate it. I know people are going to get loads of value from this. And thanks, brother.
Stu, you're a boss, man. I appreciate it.